giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x
Giving you a
chance
voice.
to win on all
Making it loud.
giveaways.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the 3507 Robothiosis and Fun FTC Robot in One weekend stream. So I'm sitting here with Jake, Max, and you guys know him, that's Ethan. So right now we're going to be breaking down all of the subsystem components that we have been building over the last few hours, and we're going to be talking about the game and some of the robot chassis and bots that we have started to create so far. So let's start with Max right here in the middle. Max, what kind of chassis do you have right now? Maybe you can hold it up so the camera can see it. What build system is that from, and what's the goal of this design?
So we're using completely Andy Mark parts, except for I think a few pieces here and there. And it's, as you can see, more C-shaped. And our plan is, so one of the problems we wanted to conquer quickly was the hills and the corners, and so we tried to figure out how to levitate the upper part of the robot, and we began, you can see, creating kind of spacers in order to lower the wheels and give the upper part more height to travel over. Right now we're planning on just putting two motors in the back, this is the back, and then have two wheels in the front, just completely free, and then hopefully if we get further, putting two smaller wheels on either side in the middle, that are also free to more easily climb over the hill. So.
Yeah, and that the frame structure right here is the Andy Mark S3 frame structure. And Max, if I'm correct, you're doing a back wheel drive. You said Omnis in the front, and then possible smaller wheels in the middle, and that's to get over the crater, right? Over the the crater wall out on the side. So, nice job, Ethan. Do you want to talk about what your team's been doing so far?
Absolutely. So we've been working primarily with the Rev components. So we started off about half an hour before kickoff building a four-wheel drive drivetrain. Excuse me. We used the Rev traction wheels in the back. These are just the 90mm traction wheels, and then the Omni wheels in the front, just to let us turn a lot more quickly. Something along our design process we decided to adapt was we started out with all 40-to-1 motors geared 2-to-1 with gears, and ended up needing the front space that the motors were taking up. So we swapped to the chain system with 40 and then a 22 sprockets. So we still have that 20-to-1 final drive ratio on the wheels. On top of that, we built a 4-bar lift with the rev extrusion, just giving us a lot of vertical height, and while also always keeping this bar parallel, these two bars parallel, in order to more easily mount a claw or something to grab the game elements this year. On top of that, for our motion components, we've used a lot of the Rev bearings. These are these little plastic 2- or 3-piece bearings that work with 5mm hex shaft, and I've been really impressed by it. It's been a really solid motion component so far.
And so what's your goal with this? What do you want to put on the front? Do you guys have an intake or collector of sorts that you guys have developed or thought out?
Yeah, so far we're working this claw right over here is kind of what we've been prototyping so far. It uses a rev servo and a lot of rev extrusion to go over to the game pieces. The claw will close and kind of compress it against this foam. This foam has a lot of compression, so it should, in theory, be able to grab both balls and cubes because this can compress so much. So this is our plan to put kind of on the front on probably something that'll tilt, so it can fit into the box, and then fold out.
So while we continue our discussion, guys, if you guys have any questions, tag at First Updates Now, or you can tag me at Fun FTC Nathan in the chat, and we'll read off your questions and ask our fine robot builders hear them. So, do any of you guys want to talk about this? I don't know if you guys have been working on this at all. Nope. All right, I can talk about this. So this right here is a wheeled intake using the green compliant wheels from AndyMark and some Rev Core Hex motors with the Rev 15mm extrusion. So I think the goal of this is you'll approach the balls and blocks, it'll spin, it'll intake, and then I don't think we have worked out a way to you can outtake through. I don't know if there's a more sophisticated method that we've come up with yet. And then we showed this earlier on the other part of our stream, but we've been working on, someone's been working on this. This is a linear slide system using the Rev second version of its linear slide. It works pretty well. It's on a Core Hex motor. I'm not really sure what we're going to do with this. I could see this, though, being incorporated into the design of our intake here, so that we can give that intake some height, so that we can intake balls and blocks and then outtake the balls and blocks into the cargo hold. Another option, if you guys create a simple intake like this could just be the front of your robot and be basically your robot, and then you could easily take the balls and or the gold and silver minerals and quickly spit them out into the depot, that logo into the side of the playing field. So do you guys have anything else? What's your favorite? I guess I asked, what's your favorite part of this game? What are you most excited for? What do you think is the best part about it?
I'm really excited for the hang. Like, this is a weird hang that I haven't seen ever really in FTC. It's an interesting challenge, I think, and especially the bonus from starting hanging will be really cool to see how teams will fold down and autonomous and then remain precise on the playing field. I'm really excited to see that.
Similarly to Ethan, I think there's a lot of fun obstacles in this game, and like with the hill, there's the whole hanging, being able to the option between putting the balls in the corners or in the rover in the center is just quite fun. So.
This is my first year in FTC, so I'm just looking forward to the whole game, and it seems like the hills and the corners are going to be a fun challenge, and it'll be exciting to come up with some new solutions to get over that hump.
Oh, Nathan's coming back.
Yeah, so I came back to ask that question in the chat right now. Someone else did those tests earlier. So OMG Robotics 1 said, do you have a real field set up? If you do, what's the max number of cubes and balls that fit in it? Yes, we do have a real field set up. And so through our test, by placing them very strategically, we saw that you could do 48 balls into the cargo hold, and you can do 64 cubes if you place them very strategically, one stacked on top of another into that cargo hold. But if you're doing it kind of randomly, as kind of a robot would, we think that 66 cubes can actually fit, and more like 52 blocks or 52 balls. So a little more, since they're not just strategically placed; they kind of just go wherever they want.
That'll be interesting. Like, we saw a lot. We used these same elements in Rescue, and we saw some of that strategic placing that came in, and people favoring the cubes over the blocks. So I'm excited to see if teams will go about the same strategies, favor one over the other, or take a lot of time placing them and make sure they make every element count.
Ethan, if you can think right now, do you think there's going to be a meta to this game? Do you think there's going to be something that, like, do you have any idea what that is?
This early, a day into the game, even if I thought of something that I thought would be the meta, I'm sure I'd be wrong. A lot of times the meta of the game kind of evolves. Really, over time, we saw that, like in the Relic Recovery season, teams would start out with just the flipper bot being the meta, and then started adding on to it. So I don't think really the meta bot will be possible to kind of evolve yet. It has to take some time.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're going to be having a t-shirt giveaway very shortly. I'll get you that keyword as soon as we're ready. So that's going to be an Andy Mark t-shirt. I'm not really sure what that t-shirt's going to be. Might be something game specific, might not be. We'll see soon enough. Ethan, Griffin has a question for you. How long have you been growing your beard out? And how long do you expect it to get?
I think... Oh, man, I have to think about this. I think it's about a month. Yeah, that's about right. And I have no idea. Whenever I get sick of it.
So, we have another question from Grumpback Whale. That's, how do you think teams are going to deal with trying to pick up one type of block or ball? So I think I'll answer this first and then kind of pass it down the line if anyone else. I think one way you could do that is if you have some sort of claw, then you can kind of strategically pick what you want to do. So kind of like this, to an extent you can pick what you want to do. If you have more of a wheeled intake, I also think you can pick what you want to do. You can only hold 2. Everything's pretty small, so it's probably pretty easy to manage just to kind of insert, kind of lift up, go around, pick up another ball, or pick up 2 blocks, whatever you want. Do any of you guys have anything to add to that?
My first instinct, too, was the claw design. It's just very precise and tends to be easy to control. I think this may be another option. We actually had, for our design last year in Robotics, something very similar to this in order to pick up cubes. And I felt it was always quite easy to pick whether or not we want a gray block or a brown block. So, yeah.
So, another callback to rescue from me. A lot of teams would have zip tie or surgical tubing intakes. And, again, they favored those blocks because they could score more of them in the high goal. So they would put kind of a vertical bar, or a horizontal bar, that was shorter than the balls, but taller than the cubes. So as they would drive over it, it would push the balls out of the way, kind of like that, and they would only grab the cubes. So I could see something like that kind of returning, but I think it would have to be on a servo, so a team could then lift that up and say, okay, I only want to grab the balls now. And likewise, it's hard to say it's easy to only collect cubes, but it gets really hard to only collect balls if they're intermixed with cubes.
So we have another question from Anubis Abyss Ruler that says, is it worth it at all to try to index the game pieces or just to try to pick up 2 of the same game piece? So to me, I think it's probably worth it to try to pick up 2 of the same game piece. You can spend a lot of time, if you have 2 different ones, you would spend a lot of time picking up one, going around picking up another. But we'll probably show you this a little more on stream tomorrow. But one of the things that we realized is the cargo hold for the balls is right next to the crater. So if you pick up balls, you're going to be able to cycle back and forth really, really fast. And then for the blocks, that's to the right of the crater instead of right in front of you. But what you can do is, if you have a long enough arm, you can pick up the blocks, go over, and reach over it, pretty much. So you can reach over it and deposit. There's a lot you can do there. There's a lot of different strategies, but anyone else have anything to kind of add to that?
I think early on it may be common to go only like one at a time, but I think later on in the game, if you especially want to get far and gather lots of points, you're going to have to collect 2 at a time, just because it's double the points.
So we have another question from Dr. Rocket. Do you think the autonomous mid-game and end-game scoring balance will be different this year? seems to me like autonomous is worth relatively little this year.
Actually, that would be amazing. Thank you. So an interesting thing that I noticed about this year, as somebody pointed out to me, is that unlike most games, game elements that you score into the standard scoring objective only count once. So traditionally, in like a rescue game, you could score something in autonomous, it would be counted at the end of autonomous, and then at the end of driver control. This game is not like that. So it's even less that really goes into the autonomous portion. So if you get a max autonomous 30, 20, 50, yeah, it does really feel like a lot less. It feels a little more like a rescue autonomous, I think. It's not quite last year's overwhelming amount of points. So I personally like that. Yeah.
So we have another question from Turbocharged 14615. Shout out to them. They were at the Chicago Robotics Invitational as a pre-rookie team, and they did very well there. So they asked, do you think that intaking the elements will be a good strategy?
In my opinion, and this is my first year, and I just built this claw, I think it'd be just as an effective method as using a claw like this, because it's pretty easy to just choose if you want a cube or a ball, or just grab one of each. I think that they could be equally effective methods if executed properly.
Totally, yeah, I agree. I think, my instinct from, this is now going into my fourth year, my instinct tells me that a wheeled intake is going to be faster, but if you get really fast with a claw and you have a mechanism where you can easily go in and out without losing control of both of the minerals that are there, a claw might work just as well.
And this is a little callback to last year. A lot of times, claws are going to be faster to build and prototype and practiced with. So a practiced claw is probably going to be better than a wheeled intake with no practice. And a refined claw is going to be better than a wheeled intake that isn't refined. So a lot of that, I think a refined, practiced wheel intake is probably going to end up being faster. Whenever they're in an equal playing field, I think the wheeled intakes personally is probably going to be a little better. But a claw can definitely hold its own and has its own advantages.
Yeah, right now I think we're going to go over to Tyler at our desk, who's going to tell us what the giveaway is and how you guys can win that.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. So for the giveaway that's going to be coming in a moment, so it's not even on the AndyMark website yet, but we're going to be giving away a brand spanking new FTC AndyMark t-shirt right now on air. So guys, if you are in chat live on air, don't forget to hit that follow button up on the top of the screen. If you're a subscriber, you're going to get 5 times chance to win this. And the keyword, well, pretty simple. Just type AndyMark right now, AndyMark in chat. Start spamming as many times as you want. AndyMark will be your chance to win a awesome FTC t-shirt from AndyMark. Good luck, everybody.
Some more questions would be great if you guys have any more. What are you guys excited for just in general about this year? Do you guys have any personal goals for what you want to do as students or as a mentor?
I think the technology and the prowess of teams in FTC has grown immensely over the past few years. Like, looking from Cascade Effect to now, the technology and the building system improvements have been enormous. And I'm really excited to see what all of the teams do with that additional bonus, with all of that new tech, and with the new hardware, and see how much crazier they're going to get. This is a really, really complex game, in my opinion, and I think it's going to be really awesome to see how teams solve that.
Going off of Ethan, so far, I've had fun with the Rev parts. As a beginner, they're easy for me to use, they're well labeled, and it's pretty clear what I can put into other things, so that's a big advantage for someone who's just getting into this. It's really easy to start building complex things, and I'm excited to start learning more about how to use the parts in new and innovative ways.
So yeah, we have a few last questions before we end here. Grumpback Whale is another one. He asks, do you think it will be worth it to reach over the crater versus driving over the crater? So I can.
I think it it may be more efficient actually to reach over instead of actually driving over, just because there's so many obstacles. Maybe you could do like a mix of both. Maybe you drive onto the wall and kind of pick from there, especially if you have a shorter arm. But generally, I think it'll be easier just because it's clunky. It's hard to go over the wall.
I think I agree. It's an awkward thing to drive over, especially with a lot of the traditionally fast drivetrains. If you have the motors to do a linear slide system on your intake, that would be awesome. But that's dedicating at least probably 2 motors to your intake mechanism, which gets tough.
Yeah. We have another question that's from Clint Ott FRC. Sorry, I'm reading off my phone here. He asked, what do you think about the viability of just clearing out the crater at the beginning of the match? So I'll take this because I talked about this earlier in the day during our strategy chat. I think it's definitely a viable strategy. You could, just to remind teams, if you weren't paying close attention, there is no limit in how many cubes and balls you can control inside the crater. So you could most definitely go into the crater and just kind of dump over that crater wall. Caution, you cannot launch from in the crater. You can't shoot. So if you have a shooter, the strategy is not really going to work. But you could definitely go in and just dump everything from that crater out. What you have to realize, though, is that your alliance partner, it benefits your alliance, but your opponents can also take those blocks and balls that you dumped out because the craters aren't alliance specific. So someone was wondering, what do you guys think? Oh yeah, Nick _shirt 7571 was asking, do you guys think that the corner depot will be viable in higher level matches?
So it's a 5 point for the cargo hold or 2 points for the depot. I think it depends on the level of high level matches. If you have robots that can fill up both of the depots, I don't know how likely this is to happen. I think it would become viable at that point. It's such a big points difference that it's hard. It feels like scoring in the center vortex or the corner vortex and velocity vortex, where it's a big points difference and it's not that much easier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like, though, this year the depot seems a lot more viable. It might make sense for a lot of teams. I have to read up more on the rules, but something I just thought of is you could build a long extension off your robot, go park yourself in the crater, extend that over to the depot, and just shuffle blocks and balls back and forth, especially since there's no collection. Oh, wait. So you have to be careful with that. You could probably only have 2. I would guess that you could only have 2 a block and a ball in your robot. That's a slippery slope. That's something to ask on. Yeah. But you would be, it's a form question, but that's possibly a meta this year. If you could have a giant extension and you could just kind of shuffle blocks and balls back and forth without even driving. So I don't see any last questions here, so I think we're going to run to Tyler.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that giveaway there. By the way, Andy Marcus, the keyword is your last chance. We're going to roll for it. Whoever gets it, make sure you please send a message to the First Updates Now user account here on Twitch, or you can join our Discord, by the way, if you're interested in getting more about FTC and FRC. We talk about that all the time. So we're going to go ahead and roll, and our winner is going to be Grumpback Whale. Grumpback Whale, subscriber, and has won. Do me a favor, guys, put a bunch of rigged emotes in chat, because we have rigged it for Grumpback Whale, clearly because they're a subscriber, and they have won the FTC Andy Mark t-shirt. Congratulations, Grumpback Whale, and thanks for being a supporter of First Updates Now.
So thank you very much. Thank you guys very much for tuning in to our stream today. We're going to be finishing up right after this. So if you guys want to watch day 2 of this and watch more of these desk discussions about our robots, about strategy, and about the Rover Ruckus game, you guys can tune in tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. So thank you guys. Good night. If there were any supporters today, thank you very much for doing that. So, bye. See you tomorrow.